As the Clone Wars rages on and Republic forces push deeper and deeper into Separatist territory, they encounter more and more worlds that had been under Separatist control from the very early days in the conflict. One such world was the planet of Yerbana, which had been under Separatist control from basically the opening days of the war. This occupation had been particularly brutal on the people of Yerbana, centered around the capital city of the planet, Yerbana City. But now, in the final weeks of the war, the Republic has mounted an assault against this Separatist stronghold, clearing out most of the world with forces of the 501st and 212th, with the rest of the Separatist forces centered around the capital city of the planet itself, separated from the rest of the world by a large gorge with only a handful of bridges connecting both sides of the chasm. This is where the forces of the 212th found themselves facing off against the largest Separatist force amassed on the planet. The objectives of Republic forces in the coming engagement would be to break the back of the Separatist defenders and eventually capture the capital city of Yerbana City. Meanwhile, the Separatists hope to stall and hopefully turn back the Republic assault while defeating forces of both the 212th and 501st in this engagement. Republic forces brought to this engagement a number of Venator-class Star Destroyers in orbit, supporting ground forces of the 501st and 212th clone divisions. Supporting these ground forces would be a number of light aircraft, notably several Z-95 Headhunters, and a number of LAAT-I gunships. The forces of the 212th also had among their ranks a number of ATTE walkers ready to surge across the bridge. Meanwhile, however, the Separatist defensive forces were significant, consisting of a large number of B-1 and B-2 battle droids, a large contingent of DS-D-1 dwarf spider droids, a handful of Octoptera tri-droids, several AATs, and 4 NR-N99 Persuader tanks, also known as snail tanks. Separatist forces had arrayed basically this entire force behind a blockade located on the bridge, preventing Republic forces from advancing. As the 212th attempted to seize this blockade, they found themselves facing stiff resistance and mortar fire from the Separatist defenders, forcing them back to take cover further down the bridge. However, having completed their objectives elsewhere on the planet, the forces of the 501st had been freed up to support the forces of the 212th. As such, Jedi General Anakin Skywalker, who was in command of the 501st forces on Yerbana, arrived on the battlefield near where Kenobi's forces of the 212th were pinned down. While the forces of the 212th did have a significant armored presence that likely could have broken the barricade on its own, they found themselves pinned behind the narrow passages of the bridge that made it very difficult for the larger armored units like ATTEs to advance without taking direct rocket and blaster fire from the Separatist troops. So to counter this, Anakin Skywalker advanced on his own towards the Separatist barricade and faked a surrender, claiming to be surrendering to Separatist forces. Meanwhile, the forces of the 501st got into position underneath the bridge, armed with jetpacks, preparing to carry out an assault against the Separatist barricade. Once the Separatist command droid had made his presence known, walking out onto the command platform to observe the battlefield, the Republic forces sprung their trap, with the forces of the 501st flying around either side of the bridge and beginning strafing runs, dropping thermal detonators and light blaster fire on the Separatist forces. This immediately sowed chaos in the Separatist lines, with the tactical droid disabled and the droid forces now in chaos. The forces of the 212th began advancing straight down the bridge towards the Separatist barricade, with the infantry in front, leading ahead of a number of ATTEs, which were now advancing into the Separatist formation. The chaos sown in the Separatist forces would ultimately lead to their defeat on this bridge and the collapse of the Separatist forces defending the capital city of Yerbana City. And as Republic forces began advancing onto the capital city and surrounding the last bastions of Separatist forces, the command units tied to the Republic troops on this planet were called away back to Coruscant to counter the large Separatist assault that was the Battle of Coruscant. While fighting on Yerbana would continue for a few more days, the Battle of Yerbana would ultimately end in a Republic victory, with the Republic forces liberating the planet from Separatist control. Just another major world that had been under Separatist control from the beginning of the war that had now fallen to the advancing Republic forces in the Outer Rim sieges. However, a major milestone in this battle was the commanders of the Republic forces, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, being called back to Coruscant to counter the massive Separatist assault there. If you'd like to learn more about the Battle of Coruscant, I'll leave a link in the upper right-hand corner to my battle analysis on that. And if you have any other engagements you'd like to see covered in future episodes of Battle Analysis and added to the archive, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.